there's a lot of mistakes that new trappers make, but it's not just new trappers. I make mistakes every day. You know, if I'm in a hurry and I didn't spend that extra 30 seconds to bed the trap because it was getting dark and I'm supposed to be here to pick my son up, and I throw it in, oh, that'll be fine. And then I go back the next day and it's got its jaw uncovered. Well, I obviously didn't bed that trap correctly. So we all make mistakes, but the biggest thing is you have to be aware of your mistakes and then correct them.
Well, this week on the Beginner Series, we're going to talk about common mistakes. And the biggest mistake that I can try and relay to anybody that's watching this is the failure to bed your trap properly when you're chasing canines, especially coyotes, foxes. If you have any wobble or any wiggle in your trap, and what I mean by that is when you get the trap set, this trap needs to go in the ground and needs to be bedded properly. And what I mean by that is if it's not bedded properly and they step on the jaw here or the spring or the lever or anything like that, you're going to have a wiggle or a wobble. And if that animal feels that wiggle or wobble in any way, they're going to back off and they're going to dig out your trap, and that's what we call a digger. So you have any set that you put in the ground, you have really, I think the main thing you have to worry about is bedding the trap properly. And if you do have it bedded properly, when that animal steps on the side or a lever or anything other than that pan, it doesn't move and it doesn't wobble. So that gives them nothing that they're conscious of, and they'll work your set and finally get on your pan. Coyotes, foxes, a lot of times they're going to come in and they're going to be very, I don't think it's cautious or they're afraid of anything. They're just not understanding what's going on at the set a lot of times. You've piqued their interest with your bait and lure, and they come in and they're walking tenderly, and if they step and you have any wobble, they're backing off and you've created a digger. But definitely when you put one of these in the ground, and it doesn't matter if you're setting a 1.5 double jaw in the water or anything, you want to make sure that these are stable. So that's one of the things that I think is a common mistake, where people will just set the trap, put it in the ground, cover it with dirt, and it's just not bedded properly. So I would highly recommend you pay attention, make sure these, spend the extra time, make sure these are in the bed and they're solid. And we're going to be showing you how to make sets as this series progresses, and you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about when we're bedding a trap. Another common mistake I think a lot of times is with bait and lure. And when it comes to bait and lure, when you're dealing with raccoons and possums and skunks and things of that nature, you don't really need to worry about human scent or too much scent when it comes to your lure and bait. But when you're trapping canines, I think a lot of times people will try and re-lure and re-bait a lot of times when you don't need to. This is our Mountain Man bait. I love the smell of it. It's not offensive at all. I don't think you can really overdo it with bait. We're going to be able to put, I'm very liberal with my bait use. I don't think you can overdo it with that. It's a food substance. It's not something that's offensive. I'm not going to offend any animal if I overbait. But when it comes to lure, and this is our Madness lure, it's got a little bit of skunk essence and other things in it. And there's a lot of other lures out there on the market, whether it's a gland lure or a skunk essence or whatever. You can offend an animal to where they're not going to work your set. And I think one of the most common mistakes is somebody will go to their set and they'll see where a coyote or something stepped on the outside and didn't work the set, and they think, oh, what did I do wrong? Or what was something that I did? It really wasn't anything. They just didn't really want to work the set at that point. And the worst thing that you can do is actually go and put more lure at that set. They know that set's there. They are going to come back. They may not come back that night, but I bet you within 2 or 3 days, they're going to come back and they're going to attempt to work that set. And if you put more lure in there, you've just defeated your whole purpose of the lure that you had there. it's no different. The analogy I like to use is no different than, you're going out with your buddies and maybe you're going to the pool hall or you're going to the bar to have a few drinks or whatever. And your one friend gets in the car and he's wore like half of a bottle of cologne that night. That in and of itself is, you're like, man, roll the window down. It's just too much. Well, that's what you can do at your set a lot of times. You got to keep it simple a lot of times. And Johnny Thorpe used to tell me a little dab will do you. And he's absolutely right when it comes to lures. So when you're using any lure on the market, it doesn't matter if it's a call lure or a gland lure or whatever, just a little bit. Those canines have 30 to 40 million sensors in their nose. We as humans have about 3 million to 4 million. That's a big difference. And they're going to be able to smell way better than we are. So just a little dab's going to help you. But I'd say that right there is probably two of the main mistakes. There are a lot of other mistakes that people make. I think a lot of times you don't leave your sets in the ground long enough to work. Well, I've had this set here for 4 or 5 days and I didn't catch anything. Maybe nothing's come by. So, when you're out there putting these traps in the ground, really pay attention to your own patience level. If you can show patience as a trapper, you're going to catch more fur. And the more traps you have out in the ground and the more patience you have, you're going to have more time in your skinning shed when it comes to that. Understand that those animals don't need a tremendous amount of lure and bait to work your set, and the patience that goes along with leaving your set in the ground and having faith that you made a good set and leaving it alone, those 3 things right there will exceed any others that I can tell you that can probably help you in your growth as a trapper.
When it comes to mistakes on the trap line, I don't think there's that many that really truly make a difference in the overall grand scheme of things. When it comes to mistakes, that's about the 2 top mistakes that I feel that if you don't bed your trap properly and you also put too much lure and bait and continue that process, you're going to have a hard time. But if you can be patient, and that's what trapping is, patience. If you can be patient and wait for these critters to work the sets, you're going to be very successful.